Hello and welcome to the video. We'll be talking about a CAT 2024 Slot 3 reading comprehension passage. We'll be looking at the passage, getting a better sense of understanding of what the passage is about. When we are reading the passage, which parts of the passage we need to focus upon in order to understand what the passage is talking about. And in a separate video after this, we'll be solving the questions of this exercise. So starting off, the first sentence of the passage, as usual, is a pretty important line, but it does not do a really good job of setting up what the topic of discussion is. But it kind of tells us a part of the topic of discussion, which says that fears of artificial intelligence have haunted humanity since the very beginning of the computer age, which means that the author is going to talk about why people are afraid of AI. We still don't know whether the author is going to validate the fear or invalidate the fear, but he is talking about fear of AI. Then in the middle of the paragraph, there is one more line which says that new AI tools have emerged that threaten the survival of human civilization from an unexpected direction. That tells us that the author is going to focus on the negative. The author has a negative opinion of AI and he's talking about not the conventional fear of AI that AI will take up arms and kill humanity, but some other problems of AI. So that is what the role of the first paragraph is, but it still doesn't make it clear as to which side of AI the author is going to talk about in terms of what aspect of AI is going to create that negative impact. That begins at the beginning of the next paragraph because suddenly the topic of discussion changes to language. The author talks about importance of language. So first paragraph about AI, second paragraph begins by introducing language, which means that the author is definitely going to link language and AI and probably talk about AI's impact on language and the problems that can arise out of it, which is what is being completely validated in the middle part of the second paragraph. In the sentence, it says what would happen once a non-human intelligence becomes better than the average human at telling stories, composing melodies, drawing images, and writing laws and scriptures. This is the question that the author is going to answer, that how, when AI becomes better than humans in doing all of this, how that is going to lead to negative impacts. And then he gives us a few examples in the second paragraph. Then in the next paragraph, the author is talking about impact in terms of creating emotional connect with people and how that is going to be a big problem. And through mastery of language, it is going to connect with humans at a more profoundly close level. Then he's moving on to talk about how previous inventions did not do what AI could, and AI is fundamentally different from them. How, and then in the next paragraph, the author is pointing out the things that we can do to regulate AI. But again, he does not specify exactly how we can regulate AI, apart from one regulation, where he's saying that it is mandatory that AI should disclose that it is AI. Content made by AI should first disclose. If regulation, then it should disclose that it has been made by AI. So this is what the passage is about. And this passage is not that easy a read. You know why? Because the author keeps on going back and forth between the points. The author does not introduce and say this is the topic of discussion. The author keeps on pointing out multiple adverse effects that AI can have because of its mastery over language, but the structure is not very categorical. So few things he talks about. He talks about impact of AI on democracy. Suddenly, in the last paragraph, where he's talking about regulation, he's talking about how the elections can be rigged. He's talking about how in school, when children write essays using AI, how that is the least of our concerns. So multiple different adverse effects have been put into the passage in a very jumbled up fashion by the author. I think it's not a very organized style of writing. It seems like the author is writing this in a very emotional state. And that is why it's not very simple to follow coherently from beginning till the end what the author is talking about. But overall, we have to understand that the author is talking about two things here: AI, language, AI's control over language, what kind of adverse effects that's going to have on humanity as a whole, multiple different aspects of humanity. And of course, with one suggestion with respect to regulation, and then it's not too late to regulate AI. This is what the passage is about. Word count is 505, absolutely average word count as far as cat paper is concerned. The passage is argumentative. The author is passionately arguing for the fact that we need to be careful about where AI is going. There are definitely challenges that are going to arise from AI in the near future if it is not addressed properly. The author is arguing for his perspective and trying to justify why his perspective, why his sense of an alarm about this entire situation is correct. It's been picked up from Economist, again, very standard international news journal from the West. Ideal time to read because it's a bit of a hodgepodge kind of a read. All the language in terms of vocabulary is not very difficult. So I would say 2.5 minutes or slightly more than that. Sub 3 minute read is absolutely fine for people for whom reading is the strength. For people for whom reading is not the strength, you can still finish reading it within 3.5 minutes and still understand what the overall passage is about. And overall difficulty level of this exercise, I would say, is moderate. Right. In the next video, stay tuned. We will talk about the questions and solutions of this exercise. Thank you.